Yesterday, when we spoke about Julian Alvarez, there was a lot of attention, but the attention was from not so credible big sources, not credible journalists, just a few links. And we spoke about the links and we gave our opinion. And today, a very credible journalist, Ben Jacobs, has come out with a big transfer update regarding Julian Alvarez. Since then, there is a lot of talk all over the socials. 100 million euro transfer could be agreed for the summer. And let me tell you right now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Julian Alvarez is a world-class footballer. He adds so much that a lot of teams need. He can play as a false nine. He can play as an out-and-out nine. He can play as a left winger, right winger, number 10. He's a free kick taker. Premier League winner, World Cup winner, Champions League winner, treble winner, 4 goals at the World Cup for Argentina, proven he can do it on the big stage. He ticks the box for so many football clubs. And I can't really understand why some fans would be disappointed with this. He's 26 on the 31st of January. So he's got 27, 28, 29, 30, 4 of your peak years in football going into, where under the right sort of structure, under the right sort of management, the right coaching, he could explode. Also, Chelsea, heavily linked with Douglas Luiz. We're going to talk about him. Hasn't really hit the ground running at Nottingham Forest. Left Aston Villa to join Juventus, in which everyone thought was going to be his big move. And then it didn't really go to plan. You look at Chelsea's injuries with Lavia being out, Caicedo needs help in there. Douglas Luiz is a Premier League proven player who is a very, very good midfielder. Partnered up with Caicedo, Reece James could go back into right back. Chelsea could kick on. They've got favourable fixtures now. There's no excuse for Chelsea not to go out there and really pick up a lot of points. And I also want to talk about Erling Haaland, because he isn't necessarily in the goals at the moment. And there are rumours that he could be dropped and Semenyo could start in the 9. Now, make of that what you will. Make sure you go down and drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Please let me know your thoughts. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Check out the match preview or the weekend preview with Terry. That dropped earlier today. You guys seem to be enjoying those sort of videos. And check out the second channel. It will be collaborated in with this, because Andrew Robertson is very, very close to joining Spurs. Yes, you heard that right. Liverpool left back, £160,000 a week he could be earning at Spurs. But there's a lot to get to, 3 different transfer stories. But we're going to start off with the big one from Ben Jacobs. And he has come out and said the following. Several top clubs have made initial inquiries to understand the terms required to sign Julian Alvarez. Deco held a meeting on behalf of Barcelona, and Arsenal have also made aware of Alvarez's situation. Forget that word. Talks commonplace and not yet incentive or a direction of travel. Andrea Berta. Now, this is where it's interesting. This is where it is interesting. Now, I'm not sure if Andrea Berta was the guy who brought him to Atletico Madrid. Now, when I actually look at some of his transfers, I need to actually find out if he was the guy who brought him in. Because he was at Atletico Madrid for a long time, right? He was, in terms of, is there a way you can look at? So he was the sporting director up until 2025. So he was actually the guy that brought Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid. So he will know the situation very, very well. He will know the player. He will know the price tag. He will know how the structure works. Because he joined Atletico Madrid in 2024. Andrea Berta making several calls to understand the summer market, particularly around forwards and left wingers. Arsenal are one of the clubs to explore Eta Young, along with Barcelona, Real Madrid and Manchester United. Let me tell you this right now. Julian Alvarez is a game changer for any football club. As you can see here on transfermarket.co.uk, he joined Atletico Madrid on the 12th of August 2024, and his contract expires on the 30th of June 2030. Now, if we look at Andrea Berta, he was a sporting director at Atletico Madrid from 2017 to 2024-25. He was also the technical director for 5 years. So he spent 13 years building Atletico Madrid into a team that challenged with Real Madrid and challenged with Barcelona. Now, as you can see, he left a year after Julian Alvarez signed for Atletico Madrid. So he will know the €100 million price tag that he is reportedly available for. Arsenal will have the money because as it stands right now, they're in the final of they're very close to being in the final of the League Cup. They've got home advantage throughout the Champions League and won 7 games in a row. Not only that, but they are 7 points clear of the Premier League. If they win major honours this season, just for the prize money alone, could be enough for them to go out and sign Julian Alvarez. Now, since Ben Jacobs has put this out, obviously he's a very, very credible journalist, right? It has got a lot of traction. ESPN have put out saying Arsenal are considering making a move on Julian Alvarez. It makes easy sense for a reporter to jump on the bandwagon, right? Arsenal weighing up with Julian Alvarez, summer transfer. Arsenal exploring the possibility of launching a summer move for Atletico Madrid star, etc. But when Ben Jacobs comes out, who is one of the most credible journalists, Fabrizio Romano, he's always quote tweeting his stuff. For me, it kind of makes that I reckon there's a lot more legs to this story than meets the eye. I really, really do. We'll come back to Arsenal in a few moments. I want to talk about Douglas Luiz because this coming out from Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea have made an initial approach with Juventus to discuss Douglas Luiz loan deal. No interest in obligation to buy. Chelsea want a straight loan. Now, I like Douglas Luiz, and I think his situation at Nottingham Forest, I don't necessarily think that was the correct move for him to go down. You know, he's only made 8 appearances in the Premier League, and he's only completed 17% of the minutes. You know, he's a very, very experienced player. What is he, 20? I want to say 26, 27. You know, Champions League experience, Europa League experience, FA Cup experience. You know, his contract with, you know, Nottingham Forest has a loan with an obligation to buy from Juventus, right? So his contract expires with Juventus 2029. He's valued at around 25 million euros. I think he would be fantastic partnered up with Caicedo in a double pivot. You've then got Enzo Fernandez to use in the 10. You've then potentially got Cole Palmer to use in the 10, or Cole Palmer can play out wide. And when you look at Chelsea's current situation with midfielders, yes, they won against Pavos, which was a 1-0 win, which should have been a little bit more, in my opinion. But you look at the available players that are out injured, it's only really Lavia from a midfield perspective that is out and will be out until probably February/March. You know, when you look at the players that played, they've got Andre Santos, Reece James, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. You had Douglas Luiz. I assume he would be coming in pretty much for Lavia. You know, this was the 11 that played against Pavos in the Champions League. You know, Caicedo got the goal, got a man of the match performance. They need a little bit more protection in front of that back line for me. Douglas Luiz does give you that. I wouldn't say this is a statement signing by any stretch, but Chelsea have got winnable games coming up. You know, they beat Brentford, they beat Pavos. Napoli at the moment under Antonio Conte in the Champions League aren't anywhere near the level of the Antonio Conte's Napoli side in Serie A. Crystal Palace is not, at this moment in time, a tough away game. They've then got West Ham in the Premier League, who are currently in the bottom 3. Wolves, who are bottom of the league. Leeds United, who are only a handful of points above the relegation zone. They've got a comfortable tie in the FA Cup. The only difficult fixture you'd really say in there that's really difficult is the Arsenal fixture, which they're currently 3-2 down in the League Cup. The Napoli game, I wouldn't even worry about Spurs going to play there. You look at Napoli in the Champions League. You look at where they are. If I can just bring up the Champions League, they drew with Copenhagen. Napoli aren't even in the top 10. Napoli are down they're not even at this qualification process. They're nowhere near the Napoli we've seen throughout the years in Serie A. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think he'd be a good signing? And I want to finish up with Erling Haaland, a player that at this moment in time is he's under a bit of pressure, right? And Man City are collectively under a bit of pressure. Losing to Manchester United, losing to Bodo Glimt. You look at the results before that, drawing to Sunderland, drawing to Brighton, drawing to Chelsea, beating Newcastle. They're perfect running. Look at this run of games. Sunderland, Real Madrid, Palace, Brentford, West Ham, Forest. They looked unbelievable. And then they just completely, I don't know what happened. 0-0 against Chelsea, 1-1 with Chelsea, 0-0 against Sunderland, 1-1 against Brighton. Beating Exeter 10-1 at the moment isn't anything to scream about when you've done £500 million in your last 12 months. But they have got a lot of winnable games. Fulham at home, Salford at home in the FA Cup's comfortable. Galatasaray, they should be beating. Wolves, they should be beating. If Newcastle score early, who knows? They could maybe open it up for a really interesting cup tie. Tottenham, they always struggle against us. And Liverpool, who knows which Liverpool side it is. If it's a Liverpool side that's recently drawn a lot of games, then I think City probably win. But Erling Haaland is 4 games without a goal? And since Erling Haaland's goals are dried up, it's kind of coincidentally gone with the fact that Manchester City haven't won too many games. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think he will return to form? Do you think this is a Pep problem? Or should Haaland be doing more? Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. I'm out.